Hello everybody, how you doing today? I want to thank you for watching my videos and watching my channel. Thank you to all those who subscribe and have been sticking in there. I will be coming out with more camper stuff hopefully soon because the winter is coming fast and I have to get in there and get some stuff done. Get the thing at least, the floor is done and it closed up a little bit for winter, but so hopefully we'll get some more camper renovation videos out there soon. For now, I have a Honda generator here that I'm working on. I'm going to flip the camera around and show you the model and everything here. So it's a Honda EM6500SX generator. Doesn't run. Guy doesn't know if the electronics work or anything like that, but we got to get it running first. So right now you pull off these two tabs here, and then the airbox lid hinges there. Pull it off. Remove the air filter from here. The air filter is pretty good, but there was a little bit of oil here, which is kind of normal. I haven't checked the oil level or anything like that yet. I just started working on it. He doesn't want me to change the oil, so it is a possibility that it is slightly overfilled, or it could be overfilled because the needle valve is stuck in the carburetor and dumping fuel into the motor. So we will check that. But I just wanted to show you right now real quick that for carburetor removal process on this, basically you take off the airbox and the airbox lid, the air filter. You got all these bolts in here to remove. Shut your fuel petcocking off so that when you remove the fuel it doesn't come pouring out. And you can see the carburetor right here. So we're gonna start to take this stuff apart. I am going to, once I pull the fuel line off, turn it on and take a fuel sample and see what the condition of the fuel looks like in there. We'll also remove the fuel cap and inspect the tank inside and make sure it's not rusty or anything like that, because if you do a carb clean and there's rust in the tank for whatever reason, that rust is going to end up back in the carburetor and gumming it up again. So I'm going to start to take this apart and then show you some more stuff once we get the carburetor open, or some steps along the way. It's an 8mm socket here. Down here. Be able to pop off the whole air box or air plenum there. Two 10mm bolts to get the rest of the air box off. This came off here. I was trying to get it off the back here, but I couldn't. So it came off here, which goes right into here. So the hose comes out of there, and it's a breather hose that goes into the air box there. This part here of the fuel line was attached to the air box right here, so you just have to pop that off. It's basically like a little grommet. So we're going to remove the fuel line. Careful, there might be some residual fuel that comes out. And at first glance it looks pretty clear coming out of there, so Got a gasket here to remove. Come on. I'm going to pop that out of the way. And then the whole carburetor should be pretty free. So all you have to do is take off your electronic parts, or take off the bowl here and let it sit. And that's what I'm going to do. Take off the bowl and just let it hang there with the electronics all connected. I'm going to take off the governor spring and the cable and the rod here. And then we're going to open up the carburetor and start to clean it and see what's inside. Alright, so you can see I just rested them here, but these are the two screws that held on this electronic part into the bowl here. I don't know if it's a carb heater, I think it is, but that held on the carb heater inside there. This was a little crusty around here right as I took it off. Be careful, there's a little O-ring there, so don't lose it. And inspect it, make sure there's no cracks or tears, because if there is, you're going to want to replace that. Then it's a 14mm bolt here, which I've already loosened up real quick. I'm going to take that off here. Loosened it up already just to make it a little easier for video aspect. But so I'm going to take that off. You'll see that's going to want to be cleaned. There's also an O-ring there to seal the bowl. And look at the nastiness in there. Thank you, ethanol fuel. You see it's like gelatin substance in there, and that's what this ethanol does. It draws moisture out of the air. It causes electrolysis inside the carburetor. Everything gums up. You can see there's fuel. I don't know if you can see in the middle there, but there's fuel in there, which really shouldn't be. It should be able to pass through that jet. So that jet is probably completely plugged in there. So we're going to remove the pin here for the float bowl, or for the float rather. Inspect that needle real well. I mean, it looks okay at first glance, but we'll check it again later and make sure it's really good. You're going to want to remove the Welsh plug cover here. Drives that in slowly until lightly seated, and as you turn it in, count the amount of turns and then remove it completely. The amount of turns from where it sits to where it seats all the way in is going to be where you want it set up when you put it back together. So if it's 3 turns out, you know, if it takes 3 turns to turn it in, and then you remove it completely, when you reset it, you're going to turn it all the way in when you put it back in, and then turn it back out 3 turns out, or 5 turns, or 2 turns, or whatever it happens to be. Basically, your factory settings is going to be the best way to set it, and then you can slightly adjust it when it's running to, you know, make it a little smoother, or if it you know, needs a little more air or a little less. And yeah, and that's basically it so far. I'm going to remove the idle and pop this piece up here where there's a jet under there. We got to clean through there. We're going to remove that jet, of course, the main jet in there, clean through there. And I still am going to take a fuel sample just to see the condition it's in. I had a gentleman last week that brought me a backpack blower and says, geez, I don't know, I can't get it running. It's fresh fuel. Just put it in. Well, this is the fresh fuel he just put in, full of water on the bottom. Look at that. That's all water. Shelf life of ethanol fuel is 14 days. After 14 days, it starts to deteriorate, and it deteriorates quickly. If you leave your gas cans outside in the weather where they can adapt moisture, they're going to. The ethanol is going to pull it right out of the air and into that gas can, and you're going to have water in your gas can, and you may not even realize. So it is important to store them inside where you can. Keep them as full as possible so they're less likely to adapt moisture. Same thing with fuel tanks, especially metal fuel tanks. When you're storing them stabilize the fuel and keep it as full as possible. That way it has less likely to adapt any moisture that the ethanol can draw out of the air. And yeah, so that's it. So I'm gonna go through the rest of the carburetor, clean it out real good, and put it back together, and hopefully we get this baby running good. We'll check all the electronics and make sure all the outlets are working properly, and we'll work our way from there. So I left everything a little loose here for now, just so you can see, but there's a gasket here. Make sure that that gasket stays there where the carburetor gets pushed up against it. You know, put your rod and spring back on. Then you have this plate to go on, which there's a gasket in between the carburetor and this plate here as well that holds the choke assembly. And then you have this gasket. Make sure the orientation is in the right way. I mean, it's kind of pretty easy to do it the right way, because if you put it this way, you'll see it just doesn't seem to fit quite right. Well, I got the frame in the way. You'd see it doesn't seem to fit quite right if you have it that way, because of this cutout here that of course goes there. So I mean, it's pretty simple, but if you're not paying attention at all, you could definitely put it on backwards. So put that on, and we're gonna get the air box back on. I did check the fuel. It does seem pretty clean and fresh. I'm going to add some fresh fuel with stabilizer in it anyhow. There's not a lot of fuel in it, and you know, we're going to put the air box back on. Make sure that the breather hose runs through this grommet right in here. And we'll see right there. There's the grommet, and then into that part of the motor where the breather comes out and into the air box. That's about it. You know, we got our solenoid for the carb heater all connected and hooked up. Fuel line is on, and that's it. I'm going to also inspect the spark plug. It's one thing you should probably always do whenever you have a any carburetor issue, because if there was any leaking over the needle valve or anything like that, or a real super lean issue, you could follow out a spark plug or get one real dirty or whatever the case may be. So always good to remove them, clean them, inspect them, replace them if necessary. A lot of times it's just easier to replace them. It's, you know, $3 to $6 probably, depending on what spark plug you need. So you know, we're going to remove that and inspect it. I have spark plugs, so if I need to replace it I will, and put it back together and we'll run it. So I got everything back together here, and the next thing that I'm going to do here is change the oil. It is full, it's clean, it doesn't smell like gas, but he wanted an oil change anyhow. So you have the fill and the dipstick right here, and you have a drain plug here. I've already loosened it up. It's a 12 millimeter. Got one on the other side as well. Got my drain bucket underneath here. I'm going to take it off. Drain the oil. You got a little washer there, so make sure you hang on to that washer. And drain the oil, and then we'll put fresh oil in it and we'll run it. So got everything all set now. It's getting a little dark out, so I have a light up here, and you know, hopefully you can see okay. It seems like you can on the camera. So the carburetor cleaned, got it all put on there, fresh fuel inside the tank, changed the oil. I basically drained the oil, and I ran out to get parts for another machine that I'm working on, and I got Honda genuine oil for the generator as well, some extra I have in stock. So basically we're going to start it up now. I got the fuel in the on position, the choke here. I'm going to pull the choke open. This is an electric start unit, so luckily I don't have to pull, but it doesn't matter if I had to. But and I got to check the outlets, so I have this amp and watt meter attached to here, and I have it attached to a heat gun. So we're going to start it up. Make it loud. She's running. It's a good thing. Sorry about the noise, but obviously it's loud. It's a generator. So that's the Honda EM6500SX. Carburetor clean. Change the oil. If you noticed at the end of the video, I had shut the fuel in the off position. That is another thing that I highly recommend to anything you know, that gets used very seldom, like as a generator does, or a power washer. If you have the capabilities of putting the fuel petcock in off, put it in off, and either run the machine till it runs out of fuel, or that little screw right there in your carburetor, open that up and that will drain the float bowl so that you have you know, you don't have any fuel sitting inside your carburetor that's going to gum it up again. So that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And hopefully we got some more videos coming for you soon. And we will see you on the next one. Thank you so much. And please hit that subscribe and that like button.